Good day everyone and welcome to my channel again. In this video, we'll have a virtual tour at my friend Clemena's amazing bonsai garden in the US. I was always amazed with his beautiful bonsai creations and garden landscape. So I thought, why not feature it in my channel so other people can see it also. I brought this idea to him and thankfully he agreed, and here it is. So come on, let's watch and be inspired.
Hi, this is Caleb, all the way here from the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been asked recently by one of my Facebook friends who is doing bonsai in the Philippines to do like a garden visit. And obviously you can't visit the garden if you're in the Philippines. And so I'm all the way over here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So all I could do is invite you through this virtual tour of the garden. And so it's an honor for me to have been asked by Alex. So thank you very much for this opportunity. But before we do the garden tour, I'd just like to explain a couple of things because I don't have any Yamadori in my collection. So these are all nursery stock items or trees that I planted myself so many years ago. And they've never been collected out from the wild. So you won't see those massive trunks that you see normally in collected materials from the mountains. And so these are all slender, but I've compensated through the years with careful maintenance and nurturing of the trees. The second thing I'd like to explain is that we're in the middle of spring right now, and the trees have their initial flush of growth, and so some of the trees that you will see are not in their show state. So because I don't normally do any maintenance pruning until early summer, late spring, something like that. Because I just let them grow their first flush of growth until they harden off and mature, because it's healthier for the plants, and that's the most important thing for me, is to for the plants to be healthy rather than show ready all the time. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the tour. God bless you all. So as soon as you enter the gate, this is what you see. I built all of these the stands throughout the years. It didn't all look like this in the beginning. I built it as I go along. So this is Juniper Procumbens Cascade. It's been with me for quite some time, more than 20 years, and so I developed the pads as they grow, and you can see it just keeps going down. Some people say that it's too long for a cascade, but I like it. Next is a fuchsia. This is a swing time fuchsia, which I call the matrix. Right next to it is a hinoki cypress, a fall cypress. This is the Cypress obtusa. I had it a little bit on an exposed root style, but I may bury it a little bit deeper the next repotting. So this is rock planting. This is an Oko stone. You normally see this in aquascape, but I used it for bonsai. This is another Procumbens that is also on a cascade. I call this KD. The other one is Cassie, but this one is KD. And right next to it is an Austrian black pine. This is what they call the other black pine. It has a little bit longer needles, and it's a single flush, so no matter what you do, the needle size is always going to be like that. You cannot really shorten the needles, so you have to make it like a slightly bigger bonsai. This is a group planting of bougainvillea, and right next to it is another juniper. This is prostrata. It has a different type of needles. You call it scale type. And I have a few accent plant. This is sea thrift, and right next to it is the ice plant. And here's Squamata juniper. It's a little bit rougher than the Procumbens. This is Blue Star. And right next to it is a Mame size Atlantic white cedar, but it's actually a cypress. Yeah, it's a Camus Cypress Thioides rubicon. I have quite a few Mame size in training. These are all Atlantic white cedar. Right above it is the Mugo pine, Pinus mugo, or also called Swiss mountain pine. To the left of it is a dwarf hinoki cypress, Chamaecyparis obtusa nana gracilis. This is the bonsai that I call Yoda. It has a nice bark texture to it, so it's deeply fissured, so it looks, like a really old tree. Right below it is the Hokkaido elm. It's 5.5 inches tall. This is a Kifo size Japanese black pine, my only black pine. It's now it now has the spring candles, and I call it Ralph because I won it from a raffle. Right below it is a rock planting of Atlantic white cedars or cypress. A lot of the New World cedars are actually not cedars, but they could either be cypresses or junipers or any other conifer. Right behind it is Curly, a Cotoneaster. It's a Kashmir Cotoneaster. It has right now is flowering. It has still a lot of buds to open, and the red berries are left over from the last season. Around mid to late summer, all of these flowers will turn into berries. And here's a collection of the accent plants. This is a stone crop sedum. It's flowering right now with the yellow flowers. And right next to it is Calancho. It has the red flowers, but right now it's still in bud. And this is another Juniper Procumbens. And right next to it is another Juniper. It's a different type. It's called Sea Green. And right next to it is Thuja occidentalis. These are still young. This is the second year in training. Next to it is another young tree. It's a Rosemary, Marinas, and it's in a clump style. Yeah, it still has one flower left. It finished flowering. It has the bluish purplish flower. This one is Cerisa fetida. This is one of the two of my tropical species. It has the exposed roots, and it's actually fused of a couple of trees. So you can see one of the trees wrapping around it. And this is one of my favorite. It's the second tree in our collection. It's a Juniper Procumbens, and I have the Shari going all the way from the bottom all the way to the top. I like it. And this one is a hazelnut tree. It does have a lot of movements on the trunk and branches. These are all natural movements because the hazelnut has a habit of contorting. That's why it's called Corylus avellana contorta. Right next to it is just an experimental. It's a hydrangea in a clump style. It's not your typical bonsai material because it has large leaves, but since I have it, I just want to try it. It does have a very nice root flare in the body, and I like the flowers. It's a compound flower, has multiple flowers in one inflorescence. And that's a side view of Mr. Sato. It's an Atlantic white cedar, so we're gonna look at his front later. And right above it is going to be the new front of that Juniper. Currently that's the side view, but I like it better. I'll show you the front view of that tree later once we get up there. That's the top level of the bonsai garden. So this one is an Alberta spruce, Pisia Glauca Conica. It's just now bud breaking. You can see the new growth. It does have a girdling root that is wrapping around the trunk, so I have not removed it yet because I want to inspect what it looks like underneath, because it looks like it's a main root system, so I just don't want to cut it off and kill the tree. Right next to it is Dr. Seuss, which is another Atlantic white cedar. It has a very nice nabari to it. You can see the light green color are all of the new growth. Right next to it is Private Dancer. It's Chinese elm in Neagari style. It has the exposed roots at the bottom, and the Nejikan trunk, which is twisted. And here's another Nejikan style bonsai. This is a tiger bark ficus. And this is a Nectarine. It's the first year that I bought it, so you can see it's almost back to zero. I might shorten it, but it has fruits. I think it's gonna have fruits at the top. This is an English ivy, not your typical bonsai material. It's a vine, but you can see that I had wrapped it around a dead trunk. This is one of Satsuki Azalea. It's a Japanese azalea. The variety is Chinsan. It has a nice single petal flower. The trunk is not really big right now, but I like the root flare. And the leaves of the Satsuki are nice, glossy green. The light yellow, the light green leaves are new leaves. When it matures, it turns into this dark green colored leaf. And you can see there's a like little red spikes. Those are flower buds, so it's gonna have a lot of flowers. This is a picture of it last year, but I'm expecting more this year. Here's a collection of azaleas. Here's another Satsuki Chinzan. It's 3 trunks. Again, it's a little bit on the slender side. It does have a nice root flare that's almost pancaked, which is very, desirable. Right next to the left is Mrs. Miyagi without her flowers. She just finished flowering. She's a kurume, also another Japanese variety, and she's in a clump style, multiple trunk. This is her with the flowers, and this was just about 3 weeks ago. And that little thin wispy thing is my newly harvested air layer of a Wisteria. It has the new leaves. I didn't think it was gonna flower, but it did. A small spike, but yeah, that's what's left of it. It has a lot more flowers before they've already faded. And this is one of my favorite Satsuki Azalea. This is a small shohin. I have it in exposed roots. It's a kakua, which is very rare. It has kind of like a peach color flower. And this one is another shohin size. This is a native of San Francisco Bay Area. We call it coyote brush, Baccharis pilularis. Twin Peaks is the variety, which is one of the sites here in San Francisco, the Twin Peaks. Anyway, this is another Procumbens shohin size rock planting. And this is another azalea. It looks like Satsuki, even the leaves, but it's not glossy. It's actually an American variety. It's called Autumn Coral, and the flowers are kind of like a coral colored pink. And that's how it looks like when it's in full bloom. That was last year. And here we have a pair. The Bloodgood Maple, although it's nice, it's not a good material to use for bonsai because of the long internodes and large leaves. But I like it still because of the intense color of the leaves. The Mugo Pine is one of my favorites, but for now let's look at the Wisteria. It's on its first year of bonsai training, and yet it gave me a lot of flowers. Now let's look back again on this Mugo Pine. I really like this, how it developed through the years. The pads are nice and compact, and the leaves have gotten smaller throughout the years. They used to be around an inch and a half, and now they're half an inch to 3/4 of an inch long. And you can also see that the candles are beginning to elongate. A few more weeks and then I will start pinching those into half the size of it. And here's another kurume azalea, the same one as Mrs. Miyagi. It just finished flowering also. The Nebari is not as nice on this one, but I'll take it. And this one is a dwarf pomegranate, Punica Granatum. It's the dwarf variety. It had fruits last year, but we'll see how it goes this year. This one is another Chinese elm. It doesn't look good right now because of the leaves just went crazy on its growth spurt. But I might defoliate it. Here's another Atlantic white cedar. It's 8 years old from a twig cutting, and it's a coiled trunk. And here's an Australian brush cherry, or also called Eugenia, and that's my wife's water feature. And the birds really love it. Look at that nice bird. Birdie. Anyway, here's Mr. Sato's front view. That's his front, and the view of the background is the San Francisco Bay, and that freeway that is right across is the 101. And that's Mr. Sato's base of the trunk. He actually has a nice Nebari. It's just not visible because of the shadow. This is the tree which I showed you earlier, which has a better front on the left side. Right now this is the front, which is I'm not completely happy. The Nebari is not good on this side of it because it has a root that's going towards the front. You can see the branch formation though, it's all going down, which is the way that you should do it with a juniper. And same thing goes with this one. You can see all of the branch structures are going from the top downwards. And this one has a better trunk, and I had some deadwood features going on there, gins. And then the Nebari on this one is better. Here's another accent plant. It's a Crassula tetragona. This is a Himalayan cedar, Cedrus deodara. This is the one that I chopped off from the apex of another tree, which you could see where I cut it off is on the right side. And this is what is this? A Kishu juniper, Shimpaku. And this is this one is a jade plant, Crassula avata. And this is a very large Procumbens juniper. This is the group planting, Yose Uwe 7 trees. This is an Atlantic white cedar or cypress. And finally, this is Mr. Miyagi. He's my very first bonsai. He's a boxwood, and this is his winter color. I thought it was appropriate to end this video with my very first bonsai here in America. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this garden tour, and thank you Alex Bueno for inviting me, and I enjoyed doing it, and so I hope you guys liked it. Thank you and God bless. Bye-bye.